I mean, I think it's amazing, honestly. I mean, I'm a person who likes simple, easy to use stuff. I mean, I respect and appreciate when a tool or a piece of equipment has a lot of features, a lot of knobs, a lot of buttons. But I love how you just go to this and you type what you want. Like that's it. That's really all you need.
The future of music.
The future of music. The future of music.
The future of music.
The future of music.
The Future of Music podcast.
Welcome, my friend, to the Future of Music podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive in the future of music. My name is Ryan Withrow, one of your hosts that is here till the end. Alongside me is Jonathan Boyd. John, I feel I'm going to have to crop you like in the post edit because it's just weird that my head is like just slightly higher than yours at this point. So I'm just going to kind of like scrouch down here and then just
How
be
about
good
this?
to go. That looks good.
I'm good?
Yeah, that looks
I look
good.
professional now. I'm leaning forward. I'm alert.
You do. Yeah. And you're perfectly centered as well. So, good on you for that. I'm really appreciative. But man, it's good to be here. And today, I can't wait for you to hear how angry I am at the amount of money I have wasted on certain things in music technology, my friend. So let's talk about it. Let's open up that box of worms. What are we talking about today?
So I don't know how many people remember VST instruments when they first came on. I think both of us, I mean, I still use Cubase, which is crazy. You use Cubase too, right? So in the days of Windows XP and using Cubase, we used to, rave about all the new virtual instruments that were becoming available because it was so cool that you could just dial up a little keyboard or Rhodes piano, whatever you want, right? And now with the rise of ChatGPT and AI and stuff like that, you can literally just type whatever instrument you want, and it's there. You don't need to buy any more VSTs, so Ryan's wasting all of your money. So let's talk about that. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about wasted things like your wasted opportunity to not click like and subscribe and the alerts button to be alerted to every one of our wonderful episodes like this one that is going to express my anger. Yeah, man, I've always used Cubase, right? I've always been a Cubase guy, and I know a lot of the Logic people are going to be like, but you're a Mac user. Why don't you use Logic? Listen, it was the first thing I learned on, all right? So I'm very comfortable in Cubase and writing songs that will never be released every day in Cubase.
Right.
I'm very comfortable there. But yeah, I mean, on top of that, once you get Cubase or a DAW, a digital audio workstation, you then have the choice of getting VSTs. So I probably have, too many, probably 20 different platforms that I use to be like, I need strings. I need a synth of strings. So I know this VST is the best one. I'll go there. Let me pull up my strings. And then I'm like, I need choir. I need some choirs in there. Okay, that's a different VST. So now I need to go there. And you get all of these libraries, all of these platforms. And then by, 1 year later, you're like, they're kind of dated. There's a new one out. So I now need to buy that one. And we're talking about each of these being like $150 minimum. Some of them are out there being like $2,000, depending on what it is. My drums alone, Superior Drummer, I've probably spent $500 plus on different packs and everything. And that's fine. It's been a really good way of really getting some good music creativity going. But now we're seeing the world of AI and something known as SynthGPT. And I'm upset, but also excited. I'm joking, okay? Because now I don't have to waste any more money at this point because we are at a point where there's one VST essentially now to rule them all at this point in time. So SynthGPT is the world's first text-to-synth engine. SynthGPT is a VST audio plugin that allows you to create synths with text. All you have to do is describe the sound you would like, and it will give you 100 options to choose from. And I'm going to show you a perfect example of this as well as we continue. But it's created by the company fadr, F-A-D-R, and they've done a lot of AI stuff and a lot of tech in the music world. They do things like making remixes, very similar to Moises as well, where you can strip down an audio track and start to pull out different stems of the audio track. But it's time for them to step into this world, and it is something I'm very excited about. Let's take a look real quick at a video of SynthGPT and what it can do and what it does already remembering that this is just in beta right now. No big deal.
What if there was a plugin you could describe the sound you want to in text and get not one, but multiple different variations of that sound on the spot? Well, there is. It's called SynthGPT by fadr, and here is what it can do. The interface is very simple. Let's ask for acid bass, click search. You found the sound and you love it, click on the heart icon and you can go back to it right away. Let's go for strings pizzicato. Here's the thing though, you shouldn't expect to type violin legato and get the most seamless, natural fingered legato violin sound. After all, it says SynthGPT, so all the sounds are gonna have a little bit of a synthesized feel to them.
There you go. It's in beta, man. The sounds are things that I would generate with a $400, $500 VST that I have. And again, he mentions in that video, like, don't expect to get like the strings, the going up and down the fretboard feel and like the actual. But how far are we from that? Probably like a week.
Exactly.
Like
Tomorrow.
1 week. Yeah, I know.
Tomorrow by 2:30 p.m.
It was already rolled out as
Exactly.
I'm talking through that. But I'll give you one more example real quick just to hear some of these sounds. Let's check this out real quick.
Here's a crazy AI synth plugin called SynthGPT. It's designed by fadr Music, and I'll show you guys how it works. So we got a search bar, and in the search bar you're going to describe the type of sound that you're looking for. SynthGPT will generate a sound based off your search. If you type in pad, click return and hit the notes on your MIDI keyboard, you'll have a pad. If you search for bells, you'll have a bell sound. You essentially have a plugin with unlimited sounds. So drop a comment and let me know what you think.
And there it is, man. SynthGPT. Again, it's in beta right now from fadr, so it's just learning and growing from here. But I first heard about this during NAMM. They were going around with just a laptop and the same MIDI keyboard I have on my desk, and they were just telling people, just type whatever, go ahead. And people are typing things like the world's angriest guitar, and it would produce what it felt like that would sound like. And it's incredible to me. And the limit of what I have now, which is, okay, I know that I have 20 string instruments. Okay, that's all I have. But with something like this, first of all, you could pick 100 out of 100 that it generates. And, you know, if you're like, nah, it's not really the vibe I'm going for, let me go with one different word in there in my description and get 100 new variations of what I just put in there. It's limitless. So the creativity is insane. I know you haven't seen this yet. I told you not to look. So I'm going to go to you for first impressions and feelings toward this, John.
I mean, I think it's amazing, honestly. I mean, I'm a person who likes simple, easy to use stuff. I mean, I respect and appreciate when a tool or a piece of equipment has a lot of features, a lot of knobs, a lot of buttons. But I love how you just go to this and you type what you want. Like, that's it. That's really all you need. And not only is obviously this going to replace a lot of VST instruments for a lot of people, so that's a completely different story. To me, this is the same transition as CDs. So if you think about CDs, we had to buy individual pieces of music on this physical device, you know, this CD thing, and it came with, an insert, like artwork, this plastic case, all this packaging and all this stuff that you had to buy. And to me, that's analogous to VSTs. So VSTs, you buy it individually, you know, there's marketing behind it, there's like receipts and all this kind of stuff. And now we're just going to the iPod. And there it is. Like, you just search in the iPod and get your synth sound, and you're on your way. So it's I would say it's definitely a disruptive technology. It's really awesome, but I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen with the VST companies.
Mm-hmm. And I think they'll still remain because, again, like me, I still use Cubase. So, you know, it's going to continue that way. But for anybody new coming in, one of the examples I have is when you're starting to be creative and you're trying to write and you're trying to compose. Let's say you want to write dance music in your VST or something, in your DAW or something. you can pull up some VSTs and you can play and have some fun, but then you have to learn how to do things like, adjust the each individual dial for crossfade or maybe EQs, and you have to kind of become a master of something outside of the art, is what I'm saying. And you can't just be like, all right, everything is just as it is. It's just the natural sounds that came out of this thing. Let's just produce a song with it. Rarely is that happening. I know we talked to Andromeda on our podcast as well. It's not like he's going into his VST platforms and being like, option 2, play. He's going option 2, and let me look at these 100 dials that are associated with this tool. Let me tweak every single one to get a unique sound, something I really want. So now I'm seeing a ability for us to just go, I don't like that one, next. I don't like that one, next. That's what I'm looking for. I'll go on that one instead of having to manipulate everything. So the ability to do that and get into the creativity quicker is really the goal. But then even further than that, you will, as you start to really get into music production, I'm sure you're the same with all the times you were in the studio and writing as well. You start to pick up on, I know that sound. I know where that's coming from. I know that they're using something from Cubase that's native. It's Hallian 1. Like, I get this. That is now kind of gone with this. You will no longer be able to use the same exact things that somebody else is using, or you don't have to. It can be different. It can be completely individualized for what you searched for, and somebody's going to have a really hard time getting that identical sound to come through on theirs. So I think there's a unique element, and I think the creativity also opens up a lot easier because you don't have to worry about dialing everything in and not focused on creating music and actually starting to have fun with it, let alone the fact that you can start to add certain descriptors in here that will completely change the way it sounds. I heard somebody doing like haunted piano, and it sounds like a VST that they pulled up and added 12 effects to it right out the gate that make it sound super interesting and intriguing. So for me, I think it's going to open up creativity for people, but also I think we can finally get back to focusing on music.
Yeah.
Not having to be a sound engineer, damn it, for like all of this work. I can't tell you how many times I've just stopped recording. So I'm like, I can't figure it out. I can't get the sound I want to out of this instrument I'm playing with. I got to take a break, and I never finish it. But with this, you're back into the music writing process. So for me, the big question I have for you, John, you kind of teased into it. We know the old school way. We've talked about it a lot, which is getting all these things individually and figuring it out and going through the process. We now see this. So what are we talking about the future of instruments, digital instruments? I could see this being used in things like, AR, VR. We've talked about Virtuoso, and we've had them on here, being able to incorporate that stuff into the world of music education with all of the new technology that's happening. But what do you think this turns into? I'm not saying this stays for the next 10 years and it's like this, but what does this give us the ability and potential for in the future in instruments?
Yeah. Well, actually, before I talk about the future, I'm going to touch on the past of a couple of things that you said before. When you said you're going into a VSE and tweaking all these little settings, the way I learned it, I actually had an Alesis Ion keyboard, a synth, right? And I used to have to go dial. You have to learn about waveforms and learn what does a sawtooth wave sound like? What does a square wave sound like? And you have to dial all these little things just to get even remotely close to a sound. And now we're moving towards what I would consider to be an adapter. We're moving toward the adapter phase. And what I mean is, previously, you have to connect two things together. An adapter connects two different things. So like an HDMI adapter, USB adapter, right? It connects two different sources. And I say used to, you still kind of have to, but now we're moving in this direction where you used to have to take what you think in your own language, let's say it's English because we're speaking English right now, and then you have to learn the language of synth waves, like what does compressor do? What does limiter do? What does this do? What does bass, EQ, what does all this stuff do, right? And you have to connect those two. You have to be the connector to connect those two things together, the two languages together. For example, I want a grainy, buzzy synth piano type sound. That's English version. And then I have to know what to tweak and what knobs to change, or how do I actually get that sound in waveform or whatever. And you have to connect the two things together. Now, with technology like this, which SynthGPT is a genius name, and I noticed the font too, genius, whoever created that, um, it acts as an adapter so that everything from my view is becoming adapted to your native language, in the sense that I just have to think in my native language and tell the adapter what I want, and it goes out there and figures out, and brings it back to me. It figures out the sound. So you're eliminating the need to have some level of expertise in these different languages to get a certain result. That's the way I look at it anyway. And it just makes it. We always use the word accessible, right? So all of these tools, all of these sounds, all of these, I guess we can just call them tools to create, play music, is just accessible. It's more accessible because you don't have to learn additional stuff in order to get the things that you want. You just have to learn how to think a little bit differently in your own language. Now, where does this go in the future? I personally think that the the idea of it's going to continue going in the direction that I just talked about how every source of input or sound or music or drums or synth or whatever it is that you want is going to be able to be controlled by you speaking or thinking, Neuralink, or typing, right? Like what we're looking at here, SynthGPT. And I actually think that with the advent of spatial computing, you're going to either have your contacts or your AR glasses or whatever it is, and you're not going to have a MIDI keyboard. Some people will have that, but you're not going to have a MIDI keyboard. But the masses won't have real instruments, right? They'll have virtual instruments that are in AR, and they work through gestures. So whatever is, or it could work through thinking in the future. You might be able to like hum in your mind a melody or something, and it comes out on the computer. I don't think we're very far away from that. Or probably is already being done. But for physical touch, I think there will be some versions, and who knows, maybe we will create this, but there will be some different versions of interfaces for virtual instruments depending on your personality and style of expression. For example, are you more suited to playing drums, like a percussion, moving around? Are you more suited to playing like a guitar and that kind of thing? Different personalities are attracted to different types of different forms of expression. So in VR or in AR, you can have different interfaces that let you express the music in different ways. So whether that's like playing like drums or thinking or like painting or whatever it is, I think that's what it's going to look like. You can access any sound you can access any sound you want at any time, and there's going to be a different various forms of expression to be able to kind of paint that music, if you will, in whatever landscape that you want to paint. And that's kind of the way I see it going.
Yeah, and I love that you went back to like, this is the sound I want. So like, how do I dial that in? I know certain things. Removing that is key, because that's how we all start. We all start with, you know what this needs? It needs a violin that sounds like it's in a cathedral, and you can really hear the bow screeching at the strings. That's what we need.
Yeah.
But then that's the easy part. Outside of that, it's like, okay, how? I have no idea. Now I got to figure this out. And you got to get reverb. You got to get your compression. You got to get your EQ. Yep. And then you got to find the right VST that can have the right dynamics in the actual fake playing that's happening digitally to get the sound you want. Whereas we could just take what I just said and we just copy and paste it and put it in there and be like, let the technology do it. Let's see how this goes. And I'll also say that for those that still want control, this is just as it would be for another VST. So you can load this up in your track. It's a VST. It could be as is, and you can be done. Or if you do still want to go in and add limiters, gates, you want to do compression, you want to add some more distortion, and you want to manually change it and adjust it, you can. It just stands as like the base of inspiration to where it's either good to go as it is, or you can still manipulate on top of that. But it's just so much easier. I say it all the time. There's this gap that happens of, here's what I want in a song. I know that I need to do this. And then it's 20 minutes later at this point until you're able to actually make it happen or try it out. Because you have to be like, all right, I definitely want to do some string stuff. All right, let me go in. Let me add a track. Click this. I don't like that ensemble. Let me go to another ensemble. I don't like that one. Let me do this. And before you know it, you're like, all right, what was I going to play? I can't remember. I have no idea what I was going to do. but eliminating that time and just having this up and going, I need an ensemble, like creepy string ensemble. Let's type that in. Go. That is so incredible. So I actually went in and signed up for the beta. So we'll see if I get pulled in there. But the fact that this is in beta right now, just in testing, just like we remember the days of ChatGPT in beta and how quickly it turned into what it is now today, I can only imagine next month what's going to be possible in tools like this. And I'm actually surprised this is the first time I've seen something like this. And I expect to see more of these, like orchestra GPT and, percussion GPT, not just synth focused, but I expect to see more of these coming together. And then you'll see one come together cohesively to do all instruments. But I'm excited, man. It's pretty cool stuff. So be sure to check it out. I've got the link in the description, in the show notes. Hopefully we could pull in fadr and synthGPT and we could have ourselves a good conversation and learn what they're doing over there. I would love to have them on here just to nerd out a bit about something.
I want to know how it works too. It's really cool.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what's going on in the back end. But when we think about Suno and we think about how amazing Suno is, now thinking about all these other companies that are focusing on one specific thing that they can perfect in AI and how they can all come together, and Suno can remove a little bit of the fuzz that you hear in instrumentation, because now it could potentially work with a SynthGPT that produces beautiful, perfect synthesizers. It's pretty cool. So anyway, go check it out. Click the links below. I'll put the videos below as well if you want to check those out. And we will see you and all of you next time on the Future of Music podcast.